Doctors only pronounce a man dead once. Marcus Webb died twice, and the second time, no hospital was involved. The thing that brought him back weighed 11 pounds and couldn't even stand on its own. Marcus Webb was 44 years old. He lived in Akron, Ohio. 18 months earlier, he'd had everything. A wife named Rachel, a 12-year-old daughter named Emma, a construction company with his name on the trucks, Webb & Sons Builders, 31 employees. Then, in the space of 4 months, it all collapsed. Rachel and Emma were killed in a car accident on Route 8, hit by a driver who ran a red light on an icy December morning. Marcus wasn't in the car. He was at a job site 11 miles away. He never stopped believing that if he'd been driving instead, they'd still be alive. 6 weeks later, his largest client filed for bankruptcy, taking $340,000 in unpaid invoices down with it. Webb & Sons couldn't survive the loss. By spring, Marcus had laid off every employee. He sold the company trucks one by one. He stopped answering his phone. He stopped opening his mail. He moved out of the house he'd shared with Rachel and Emma because he couldn't walk past their bedroom doors anymore. He rented a small apartment above a hardware store on Exchange Street. He told himself it was temporary. It became permanent. For 14 months, Marcus existed rather than lived. He drank most nights. Not enough to call it a problem, he told himself. Enough to sleep. He hadn't called his brother Danny back in 6 months. He hadn't seen his own mother since the funeral. On a Tuesday night in late October, Marcus sat at his kitchen table with a bottle of whiskey 2/3 empty and a stack of unopened bills he never intended to open. He thought, clearly, calmly, for the first time, there is no reason to keep doing this. Not a dramatic thought, a quiet, exhausted one. The kind that scares people more because it isn't loud. He didn't act on it that night, but he remembers thinking it wasn't a question of if anymore, just when. 3 nights later, walking home from the liquor store at 11 p.m., Marcus heard something in the alley behind Exchange Street. A whimper, small, weak. He almost kept walking. He told himself later he doesn't know why he stopped. In the alley, behind a dumpster, was a dog, a mixed breed, maybe 11 pounds, ribs visible under matted fur, one back leg bent at a wrong angle, clearly hit by a car or abandoned and starved for weeks. The dog looked at him, didn't run, didn't have the strength to run. Marcus stood there for almost a full minute, just looking at it. Something about the animal's stillness, not peaceful, just depleted, mirrored something in him he didn't want to name. He took off his jacket, wrapped the dog in it, and carried it home. Marcus had $46 in his checking account. The emergency vet visit cost $380. He put it on a credit card he'd sworn he wouldn't touch again. The vet said the leg was fractured in 2 places and the dog was severely malnourished. Recovery would take at least 8 weeks. Survival wasn't guaranteed. Marcus named the dog Tank because the vet said if it survived the night, it would survive anything. For the first week, Marcus barely slept. He set alarms every 3 hours to check Tank's breathing, to change the makeshift splint, to coax water into him with a syringe the vet had shown him how to use. He hadn't set an alarm for anything in 14 months. On day 4, Tank ate solid food for the first time. A few bites of scrambled egg Marcus had made at 6 a.m. Marcus sat on his kitchen floor and watched the dog eat. He realized, with something like shock, that he was smiling. He hadn't done that in over a year. Taking care of Tank forced a structure back into Marcus's life that grief had erased. He had to wake up on time. He had to walk to the pharmacy for supplies. He had to interact with the vet tech, a woman named Priya Anand, who asked him questions and expected answers. He had to stop drinking most nights, because Tank needed him alert for the overnight medication schedule. It wasn't a decision to get sober. It was simply that a smaller, more urgent responsibility outcompeted the bottle. 6 weeks in, Tank could put weight on his healing leg. Marcus took him on his first short walk around the block, the dog limping proudly beside him on a leash Marcus had bought from the hardware store downstairs. An elderly neighbor, Mrs. Loretta Sims, stopped him on the sidewalk. She said, "I haven't seen you outside in almost a year, Marcus." He didn't have an answer. He just nodded and kept walking, Tank pulling gently ahead of him. 3 months in, Tank developed a secondary infection in the healing leg. A second surgery was needed. Cost, $1,100. Marcus didn't have it. He'd already maxed the credit card. For one night, old instincts returned. He thought about giving Tank up, surrendering him to a shelter, telling himself the dog deserved better than what Marcus could afford. He sat with that thought until 2 a.m. Then he called his brother Danny for the first time in 8 months. He didn't explain everything. He just said, "I need $1,100. It's for a dog. I'll pay you back." Danny didn't ask why. He said, "Send me your Venmo," and transferred the money within the hour. It was the first time in over a year Marcus had let someone help him with anything. Tank's second surgery went well. Full recovery followed within a month. But something had shifted in Marcus that went beyond the dog. 2 weeks later, Marcus called his mother. He hadn't spoken to her in 10 months. He told her about Tank first, then, slowly, about everything else: the drinking, the nights at the kitchen table, the thought he'd had that October Tuesday. She cried on the phone. Then she said, "Come for dinner Sunday. Bring the dog." Marcus went back to work 6 weeks later, not rebuilding Webb & Sons, but taking a job as a site supervisor for a former competitor. Steady paycheck, manageable hours, enough to keep both himself and Tank fed. He started seeing a grief counselor, a decision Priya, the vet tech, had gently pushed him toward after noticing how he talked about Rachel and Emma during Tank's checkups. He didn't get better all at once. Grief doesn't work that way. But he was, for the first time in over a year, moving forward instead of standing still. It has been 3 years since that night in the alley. Marcus still lives in Akron. Tank, now healthy and 8 years old, sleeps at the foot of his bed every night. Marcus volunteers on weekends at the same shelter that would have taken Tank if he hadn't stopped that night. He's helped place over 60 dogs with families since he started. He says the same thing every time someone asks him about it. "I went looking for a reason to keep going. I found it in an alley, and it weighed 11 pounds. Marcus didn't save Tank because he was strong. He was barely holding on himself. He saved Tank because, for one moment, something needed him more than his grief did. Sometimes rebuilding your life doesn't start with a plan. It starts with one small, broken thing that needs you to show up. And by showing up for it, you remember how to show up for yourself. If this story reminded you that saving something small can end up saving you, subscribe to Unbroken Stories and tell us in the comments, has an animal or a person ever pulled you back from somewhere dark? We read every one,